Hey, what's up, book lovers? My name is Maryam and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with the book talk for It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. So to start off this book talk, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars, and this book is basically about our main character, Lily, who meets this guy named Ryle Kincaid, and he is someone who's very focused on his career. He does not want a relationship. He's not very interested in relationships, period, and slowly but surely, she and Ryle do develop this relationship. But then, Atlas, who is someone from Lily's past, ends up showing up, and this caused a lot of complications for her in her life. I just want to say that this book would have been 5 stars if I had liked the writing a little more. I find that with Colleen Hoover's books, I feel like the characters aren't really their age, but at the same time I can't stop reading her book because at the same time her books are very addictive. I don't know how she does it, but they are. Trust me, like, I didn't really like the Slammed trilogy that much, but I still kept reading, and it's really weird. But I really did think that It Ends With Us could have been 5 out of 5 stars had it not been for the writing. I am of the opinion that you should go into this book blind, because if you do, you're going to really connect to the main character a lot more. You're going to understand her a lot more and her thought process as she goes through her problems in this book. I knew something about this book that a lot of people have been talking about, and I feel like if you know that, you're going to go in with certain preconceived notions that might change your reading experience, might make you think a little differently while you're reading this book, as opposed to if you had just read it without knowing anything. So I definitely think that you should go into this book blind and knowing only what I've told you. I did very much enjoy almost all the characters in this book. I loved all of them, which is really surprising. I'm even like in love with the main character, and I'm pretty proud of her too. And I just feel like I can't say that much about this book without spoiling it for you, so I just want you to know that this is a book that deals with a very important issue, and it really provides a lot of insight on this certain issue that is going on in this book. I feel like I personally learned a lot, and I've grown because I read this book, so definitely pick this book up, give it a shot, because I think that you can learn a lot from it, you could gain a lot from it, you can understand a lot about this issue from this book. This is very personal to Colleen Hoover's life. She wrote it based on her life, so I think that you can learn a lot because it's told from such a raw point of view and from somebody who has kind of experienced something like this. So I think that it's a very honest story. So I feel like that's all I can say for the non-spoiler section. I definitely enjoyed this a lot more than other Colleen Hoover books that I've read, but I think that this is a book that everybody should pick up and give it a shot. So that concludes my non-spoiler section for this book. I hope that you do end up picking this book, and with that, there are spoilers ahead. You have been warned, so goodbye non-spoilery people. Bye! Okay, so now I'm assuming that you've read the book. Before I talk about the relationship between Ryle and Lily, I really do just want to mention that I really enjoyed all of the characters in this book. I really liked Alyssa, I really loved Marshall, I loved Lily, like I said before, I'm very proud of her. I loved her mom. I love Atlas. So, like, surprisingly, I very much enjoyed a lot of the characters in this book. Personally, I enjoyed reading her journal diaries when she was a little kid a lot more than, like, present-day things, mainly because I liked Atlas more than Ryle. But at the same time, I felt like those journal entries were very much what a 15-year-old child would think. And I think that with Lily witnessing this abusive relationship with her parents, I feel like a lot of people going through that situation will be thinking the same thing at 15 years old, like, why doesn't my mom just leave? Why doesn't my mom just leave? Why doesn't my mom just leave? So I do think that that is something that was very true and realistic to what would happen in real life. I also really liked that she wrote to Ellen all the time, like she had an obsession with Ellen. I feel like that's something that a lot of people can relate to, just like having an obsession or having something that you're really into. I also really loved Atlas. Like I said, I loved him a lot more than Ryle. Like, I just wish that there was more Atlas in this book, but then at the same time, I know that the story isn't about Atlas. The story is about Ryle and Lily and abusive relationships, and I can understand why Atlas was not such a big, like, presence physically in the book, because you know that mentally and emotionally he really is like a huge presence in Lily's life ever since he entered. So now moving on to the, like, big topic in this book. Going into this book, I knew that it was about an abusive relationship. I knew that abusive relationships were going to be a part of this book, and because of that, I was kind of expecting it going into this book. And that's why I think that that's a spoiler, you know, because I had went in knowing that there was going to be an abusive relationship. While I was reading it, I wasn't expecting it to be really between Ryle and Lily. I was expecting it to be between just her parents. Like, I thought it was just a thing between her parents, that was the abusive relationship, and we were going to learn from that. Because I didn't expect it to be between her and Ryle, I kind of could relate a lot more to Lily. Like, I could feel her and feel where she was coming from. Because if you're reading this book and you don't know, then you are basically feeling what Lily's feeling. You're falling in love with Ryle, and then you're watching him break your heart. The same exact thing that Lily was feeling. She fell in love with him as this great person that she'd met, and she thought he was fantastic, and then he like broke her heart. And because you don't know that, you feel it. You feel it with Lily. And I really, really feel like going into this book not knowing makes you appreciate and understand Lily's experiences a lot more. If you don't have your guard up going into this book, then you're gonna feel exactly what Lily's feeling. You're gonna feel exactly what Lily's experiencing. Because of that, I think it's important for people to just go into this book not knowing that there's an abusive relationship. I really, really, really loved how everybody dealt with this situation. I love how Alyssa reacted, and she was like, yeah, as his sister, I would love for you to forgive him, but you know what? As a person who's not from his family, as your best friend, you gotta leave him. And I loved how her mom dealt with this too, because she was so scared of going to her mom. She thought her mom was going to tell her to go back to him, to just wait it out. And I loved how her mom reacted to that. I love that scene in the hospital after she gave birth when Ryle was holding Emerson and Lily's like, you know, I want a divorce. Because what would you do? What would you do, Ryle, if your baby daughter came up to you and said, my husband is hurting me, or my boyfriend is hurting me? What would you do, Ryle? And I just really liked that she pointed that out to him to help him understand, like, why do you think I'm letting you go right now? And I really loved that part when her mom told her, if he loves you and he hurt you, then he would tell you to stay away from him. And I feel like despite the fact that her mom had been in such an abusive relationship, she still understood kind of what it meant to have somebody love you. And it's something that I think a lot of people can learn from. Like, if somebody really loves you, then they'll want the best for you, even if what's best for you is not being with them. So like I said, I feel like I really learned from this book. This is a very emotional book, and I'm still like kind of having a hard time talking about it because it's so raw. When we talk about domestic abuse, we're always talking about how the victim isn't leaving. Why is the victim not leaving? And even before I read this book, I used to think the same thing. Like, why is the victim not leaving? Like, why are you still putting yourself in that situation? Why aren't you leaving? And I went into this book knowing that it was about an abusive relationship, wanting to understand why a character would stay with someone who was abusing them. And then I came out of it thinking, you know what? It's not about that. It's really not about that. It's like the same thing that we do when it comes to rape, victim blaming. I loved what she said. We always are asking the question, why isn't she leaving? But we're never asking the question, why is he abusing her? Which is the same exact thing like we ask after somebody's raped, oh, what were you wearing? But like, that's not the question. That's not the big deal. That's not what's going on here. The big deal is you raped someone. The big deal is you abused someone. And I feel like I learned from this book a lot because of that. They're not the same exact situation, but they're parallels in that way. And obviously victim blaming is never okay. So like, why are we blaming victims of domestic abuse? And it also really just helped me understand, like, you can't just leave sometimes. You know, you fell in love with this person. Like, we fell in love with Ryle. Lily fell in love with Ryle. And then it just kind of comes out of nowhere. And you're kind of in a psychological state and you're not sure what exactly it is you're feeling. And you don't know how to feel. You don't know, oh, should I leave this person? Was this a one-time thing? You're never exactly sure what your own reaction is going to be in a given situation, because for all her life, she thought, I'm never going to let this happen to me. I'm not going to be like my mom. But then she was in this exact same situation, and she kind of understood her mom a lot more. So I'm really glad that this book exists. I'm really glad that I read it, and I think it's an important book that everybody should read because it really provides insight into such an important topic. Another thing that I really liked also that I didn't mention before was that we also had the topic of homelessness come up with Atlas. And I think that's also another topic that's very important, and it's not really explored much in fiction, and I really liked that it was there. We explored how sometimes people without a shelter, it's number one, not their fault. Number two, they might not have the resources or the opportunities, and even what's offered to them sometimes isn't better than their homelessness. Like we saw through Atlas, like he couldn't go to a shelter for various reasons, and I really liked that we also talked about that topic. So it hit on two very important topics, domestic abuse and unhealthy relationships, as well as homelessness. And I really, really appreciate that about this book. I think that this book is a life-changing book for me, and I think it's definitely going to hold a really special place in my heart. So even if you don't like Colleen Hoover, or you don't like Colleen Hoover's writing, read this book to understand. Read this book to gain a perspective on what it means to be in an abusive relationship, gain a perspective on what it means to be homeless. So let me know down below what you thought of It Ends With Us. Did you like it as much as I did? Did you kind of get like the same thing from it that I did? Let me know and let's discuss down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time with a new video. Bye!